All right, so Azar, thank you so much for being here with me. Can you please talk to me about the pain point that caused you to create Reach LLM, please?
Yeah. Hi, Henry, and everyone who's watching. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. So the pain point that we are trying to solve is like brands and businesses getting invisible in AI search visibility, right? And we face this firsthand. So we're working on our previous startup, and like we're doing great in terms of SEO, but we realized that this was like back last year, and we realized that okay, even though it's showing up on top on Google, but it's not showing up at all on any of the LLMs. And we are using LLMs all the time. So does all our customers, right? And then we realize, okay, this is a big opportunity. There's not a great solutions out there that are solving this problem. And we created an internal tool for ourselves. It was working good. And we productized that. We launched it on product ton, got some traction, and we pivoted to build ReachLLM. Yeah.
And so traditional SEO targets crawler indexing for Googlebot. When ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Gemini answer a prompt, how much of their recommendation comes from real-time web search versus pre-trained weights, and how does Reach LLM optimize for both?
Yeah. That's a great question, right? So to answer the first part of the question is like how much is like web search versus pre-trained information on the LLMs. So that really depends on what kind of queries and prompt you're targeting, right? So if it's like some general information, usually like, okay, what is this? What is XYZ? So these kind of like top of the funnel questions or prompts, like usually the model already knows about those things unless it's a very new term, right? But if it's like a product discovery questions, like those are the bottom of the funnel questions where customers actually make the purchase decisions, like those tend to be like 85% of the times LLMs would do some sort of web search, right? And as the models are getting better and better, their objective is to give you the most up-to-date and current information. So even for some of the top of the funnel queries also, we're seeing more and more web search happening, right? So yeah, what was the other part of the question? If I missed something.
See, and then like how much of the recommendation comes from real-time web search versus pre-trained weights, and how do you like try to optimize for both?
Yeah. So as I said, like the statistics wise, like for all the funnel questions or prompts, like 85% of the times, like it would be triggering some sort of web search, right? And that is across like all the major LLMs we're talking about. For top of the funnel, like I don't have exact number, but these are the number of times the web search gets triggered is significantly less because these are general information. For at ReachLLM, how we're optimizing it is like first we optimize for the web search with the bottom of funnel questions or prompts, right? Because customers cares about them the most because those are the high converting prompts. For that, like first of all, we have to figure out the fundamental SEO to make sure that you get at least cited and indexed in the crawlers and search engines. And after that, it comes about like the quality of content. So the freshness of the content, are you giving like the TLDR summary of the thing? There's FAQs. Are the content around your channels are like consistent and to the point? So those are the things that we do optimize to improve the web search triggered best questions. But over the time, those web search becomes the knowledge base, right? The pre-trained one because the model gets a new cutoff date. So that's how we work. So when we work with customers, we see that uh, like we get very fast results when the bottom of funnel questions comes because it always triggers the web search. But after let's say 3 months or 6 months, when the pre-trained happens, we see even without the web search, like those get cited anyway because it's already there.
So you distinguish between a brand being mentioned in an LLM output versus being cited as an authority source. What are the underlying retrieval signals that trigger an explicit hyperlink or source footnote in Perplexity versus Google AI overviews, do you think?
Um, so do you mean like what's the difference between citations and mention? Is that the question?
Yeah, I mean, it's like what are the underlying retrieval signals that trigger an explicit hyperlink? or a source
Okay,
footnote in like Perplexity versus Google AI overviews?
makes sense. So it's basically like, so for example, Google has their own model, like model is trained on a certain specific data set, right? So first of all, let me define like what's the difference between mention and citations. So mention is basically when your brand or company is explicitly in the answer of the LLM, right? So if you ask what's the best product or service in XYZ, it will give you 5 or top 2 brand name in the answer. So that's called a mention, right? Versus what is citation? Citation is like the source, like that shows at the bottom, right? So these are the places that LLM went. So that might be like you can be cited, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a guarantee you would also get mentioned. So getting citation is, of course, that's a positive sign. That's the first step, but that doesn't guarantee that you will get mentioned, right? So that's the distinction between citations and mention rate, and it differs LLMs to LLMs, of course, because as you said, for Google, it has their own pre-training data set. The model is trained in a different way. It has different objectives. The system prompt is also different way, right? For Google, like system prompt also plays a very big role. Like, what's the objective of the model? Is it to just please the user or to get the right question first, or maybe like the fast answer? So Perplexity has a different architecture regarding that, right? The orchestration of the model, because Perplexity doesn't use only one model, it uses like chain of models to get you the best answer, right? So the objectives are differently set. So that's why you see like different sources for the same prompt across LLMs. But of course, there would be some subset of prompts or sources that is already always consistent. You want, as a brand, you always want to be on that subset, right? Because that guarantees your mention and citation across all the major LLMs. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
really simple way, can you just break down what your company does, like for someone who doesn't understand anything
Yeah.
from A to
So,
Z, and take
yeah.
us talk for as long as you want. Don't, yeah.
No worries. So let's say I'm explaining to like a 10-year-old kid, right? So what we do basically, like when you're looking for something, um, you go to some place to search for it, right? And nowadays, the most popular way to search anything is through LLMs. That could be ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, any of the LLMs that you might think of, Gemini, right? So when you search for something, the agent or LLM is doing like different types of mechanism to find whatever information it already knows, and also whatever it can find on the internet to give you the best answer or recommendation of the product or service you're looking for. At ReachLLM, we helps businesses or services like to get shown up on those answers when customers ask about those, right? So that's what we do: search engine optimization for AI search.
So, in plain English, when someone asks ChatGPT or Perplexity for a recommendation instead of Googling, why do
Yeah.
so many solid businesses completely disappear?
There's not one reason. There's plenty of reasons. It could be due to like maybe the content, the freshness of content is not there, or maybe the content simply has not optimized and has not been optimized for LLMs. So there's a too wordy, or they're only optimized for certain keywords, but not answering particular questions. So there's variety of reasons, or it could be as simple as that, like you don't even have that fundamental SEO setup done, you're not indexed even. So there could be variety of reasons, to be honest, but the most popular ones that you have seen is like with good brands that used to get cited in Google or the top responses but doesn't do right now, is because of either freshness of content, they're not like updating the content regularly. Three things, right? First is that one. The second is um like their content is not optimized for LLMs. So they're like too broad topic. They're covering. They're not like to the point, because LLMs like short answers. So it should, the content that you create, for example, on your own website, blog post or anything, it should be catered to answer a specific question, not just bunch of keywords. So before, even like you could get away with traditional SEO, like just just put bunch of keywords on a blog post and it will get cited, right? But now it doesn't work like that anymore. you have to answer a particular question, because people don't ask just, for example, if you're looking for a restaurant, you would not just simply ask the best restaurant nearby. Like, yeah, you do that, but most people are also going towards more specific questions or prompts. Like, I want like maybe $200 restaurant with nice ambience and all of those stuff, very specific prompts. So you have to create content that are like catered to particular questions or problems. So that's the second reason.
And then so you have a saying, SEO gets you ranked, geo gets you recommended.
Yeah.
So how do you explain that difference to a non-technical business owner who still thinks Google rankings are like everything?
Okay. That's a really good question, right? So SEO get you ranked, and GEO gets you like mentioned or cited, right? So the reason for that, the first thing that you need to do when you put content online, like either blog posts or anything like that, you need to get indexed by the traditional search engines, right? And LLMs, they don't have their own search engines. They still use some traditional search engines, some sort. It could be Google, either Google or Bing. There's variety of search engines, right? So first thing you need to do, it gets indexed properly. And when you do get indexed, like for certain keywords and terms, you need to at least show up on top 2, 3 pages at least, right? So because LLMs did themselves do a web search to find an information. So that's the first layer of the puzzle. So you need to get ranked on a certain pages so the LLM can at least find you. The second part that comes into play is actually, so you have the shortlist from the traditional SEO. Now you're shortlisted. Now you actually get into the answer itself. In order to get there, then you have to compete with the quality of content that you're producing, if it's optimized for the LLMs. LLM trust you enough or not. So that's the key of GEO, right? So traditional SEO, you cannot ignore that. You definitely need that, but now it's like you need to do add-on things on top of the traditional SEO, which is the work related to AEO or GEO. So yeah, that's how you need to do both.
Why are places like Reddit, Crunchbase, GitHub, and review sites suddenly more important for AI recommendations than a company's own official homepage?
Yeah. So that's a signal for trust, right? So when you just post content on your own website, that could be biased. But places like a public forum like Reddit is like very neutral place, like unbiased place. It's like there's plenty of people, diverse people who are like genuinely like sharing their experience with your product or services. So LLMs find that way more credible than just on your own website. Of course, like that doesn't mean that you should ignore your own website. So what happens underneath the hood is, first let's say you made a claim on your website that you do XYZ within 90 days, right? You get people from one place A to place B in 90 days. So that's a claim you made on your website, right? So now LLMs needs to verify that information. And how do they do that? They have to rely on from actual people who can confirm that. So in order to confirm that, they go places like Reddit, right? Or any other public forum places where people actually saying that yes, this company actually got me these results. So then LLM has like the verification that yes, this is credible, and this is this is the brand I can trust. So that's how you create the trust in LLMs. And LLMs tend to do deep research as well, and that comes underneath the hood. So you need to have both places accordingly. And that's why I also said before, the content that you produce and put out there, it should be consistent. If you have conflicting informations across different channels, that creates like a distrust in LLMs. So just make sure like whenever you're creating content, it's always consistent. And also if you're getting reviews from customers, if it tailors to those specific points, that's like amazing, best case scenario for you.
Pew Research showed that when an AI summary pops up, barely 1% of users click the link inside the summary. If people are not clicking through to websites anymore, what does winning on the internet look like right now, do you think?
Yeah, that's a very good fundamental questions, right? That's a user shift that you are seeing. So the statistics wise, we have seen that was, I think, beginning of this year, probably increased more, like 69%. So I'm talking about Google search. 69% of all Google search are like zero click search right nowadays. It all either covered by the Google AI overviews or AI mode. So people are not clicking. So what exactly does it look like as a win, right? There's lots of ways to trigger, like check if you're actually getting cited in this place. That platforms like us, like trackers, there's plenty of trackers out there who just tracks like, are you getting mentioned or not? ReachLLM also has our in-house tool to track that. So it will give you that metric. So that could mean that your overall traffic on your own website might reduce, but that doesn't mean that people are not finding you. People are still finding you, but through different means, directly in the answer. But then the type of traffic that you actually get on your website, those are super high quality people, right? This is like a filtered traffic that is coming to your website. So we have seen with our customers that even though the traffic has significantly dropped, but the quality of leads that they're getting is like top notch, right? Because the reason for that is basically people have already trusted you from the AI summary, and then they actually click the link, or either they didn't click the link maybe at that time, at least they know about your brand, and then they actually entered your website and went to your company website, right? So those type of quality of leads are coming up from LLM. So that's like both an opportunity, and it is definitely like the different way to measure success. But I see personally see this as like a very good way that you get like filtered leads already, because you're wasting less time on unqualified leads, right?
And then how do you think like Google Google search like how will their search business change over time? Because like you're at the forefront of that, you're seeing everything. How do you think that like LLMs will just change this whole industry?
Uh, so it's always changing, right? Since like Google like, search engine came, like every year you would hear that it's always evolving. Oh, SEO is dead, right? Now people are saying even GEO is dead. There's different sentiments, right? I think it just like you just need to be adaptive, and the pace of change that's happening, like it's much quicker than before. So as long as you're like aware of all the changes and you are not reactive rather than being proactive in those change, in terms of how LLM works, and as a business, like you are doing all the necessary means, like not just sticking to the old playbook, but also adjusting to the change and being proactive to do the work that is required to get cited on the LLMs. I think you'll be good in that position. Yeah, so from business perspective, it's all about being proactive in this change, because change is inevitable. It is gonna happen anyway. And we don't even know like in 2 years how the LLMs, like how much integrated the LLMs will be in our life, right? Of course, it seems like it will be like so much more integrated, but there could be a lot of ways that it can change significantly. Because for example, we don't even know like if we're still gonna be using like traditional computer or mobile, maybe the whole interface might change with voice and stuff, right? There's a lot of uncertainty, but I think as long as you're agile with that and proactive, it's gonna be fine.
What happens when a prospective buyer asks ChatGPT for the top three software options in a category and a product, let's say, even though it's technically better, isn't even on the list?
Okay, so that means that that company haven't, even though, you mean like they have a good product but they're not getting shown like mentioned by the LLMs? Yeah, so that's like a distribution problem for the team, right? So even though they have a good product, so that's a really good thing, but maybe the communication is not out there in the right way, right? So that could be the main reason. But what's the question here? Like,
I was just wondering, like, how does that, like, how would like Chat GPT like rank that sort of, you know what I mean? Like, how do they decide like what gets shown, like what's in the top three?
so that
And
that
like,
depends,
yeah.
like, yeah, so that depends like top three, like let's say you're asking best supplement for XYZ, right? So what it will do, it will do like in-depth web search, and it will see if you have relevant content on those places as well, and then cross-check with third-party places. Those are neutral websites, maybe some publisher website as well, public forum as well. And as long as the contents are consistent, so it will evaluate based on like consistency level. So let's say 3 of the companies are solving the right problem, right? But company A has more consistency of what they're solving in all across the board. So that would get a higher priority over the others. That's the most credible that LLMs think, right? So that's how it processes the ranking. To add on that, LLM is also probabilistic. So sometimes like we see that variation happens at some to certain degree. But that's just how LLM works. Like it's never gonna give you that consistent answer every single time. But it's like basically the average to the mean, regression to the mean, right? Yeah.
A lot of founders have spent $50,000 on traditional blog posts and backlink agencies over the last 5 years. Is that money? Do you think is that money completely wasted now, or can old SEO content be repurposed for the AI era?
So that's not totally waste of money. It's like so backlink is becoming less and less valuable in terms of GEO, right? But still, like you need to get ranked in traditional search, as I said before. Like when ChatGPT does that its own web search, it's using Bing. Other LLMs are using other search engines. So still, it's relevant that you have a good SEO. So you have spent money before to have a good SEO. That's a good thing. If you're still consistently ranking on those places, that's a good thing. And in terms of repurposing the content, yes, definitely. Like that's what we exactly do at ReachLLM. Like lots of our clients, they have really good SEO, but their contents are not optimized for LLM. So that's exactly what we're helping people to fill the second layer of the gap, right? So it definitely can be repurposed.
You describe Reach LLM's process as observe, diagnose, execute. In plain English, how do you go from ChatGPT doesn't like us to ChatGPT is recommending us?
Mm. So this is a two different thing. Like if ChatGPT is not mentioning is it one thing, but ChatGPT doesn't like me, that's a different thing, right? So the first thing is easy to solve. Like that's like it's not discovering you yet, right? So you're totally invisible. So for that, like yeah, we will check your technical SEO, your content, and all of those things, third-party citations, all of those things we will do to make sure that you get cited like similar to your competitors. The other thing that you mentioned, ChatGPT doesn't like me, that's a sentiment problem, right? So that means like you are discoverable by the LLMs, but it has negative sentiment. So for that, what we do, we find the root cause. What sources exactly are causing this problem, right? We try to see that. Maybe it's like someone posted something on Reddit. Maybe you have some bad reviews. So we try to salvage those situations with content that is like explaining the reasoning on those specific features, like showing maybe the positive content on that feature or service is missing. So we find those gap on those type particular problems, and then we push more content on those to counter the sentiment of the LLM, right? So that's how we basically process this.
So there's a simple text file called llms.txt that
Mhm.
top startups are adding to their websites. What is it, and why is it essentially a cheat sheet for AI crawlers?
Yeah. So for traditional search crawlers, like web search crawlers, there's something called robots.txt, right? So it's basically a file what tells you the directory of the website. So all the important URLs that it has and which URLs the crawlers can access to. It's like a permission that the crawlers see to before going to your website. Similar to that, for LLMs, we have llms.txt. So llms.txt is an extensive version of the robots.txt. So robots.txt only have just the URL, no context about the URL, right? But with llms.txt, not only we have the URLs, like the directory of the website, but also like one line summary of what this URL is about. So how it helps the LLM to save time. Instead of directly going to the URL and finding what the URL is all about, LLMs, the engines, can directly understand, okay, these are all the pages. This is all the pages is about. So I should only focus on these 2 pages, not every entire website, right? So that's how it saves a lot of time for LLMs. It can give you a faster response. So that's why it helps significantly for the LLMs to know about your brand much quicker than others, as opposed like if you don't have LLMs.txt.
Why would an AI engine trust a 5-line review on Reddit or trust radius more than a beautifully written 2,000-word page on a company's own official homepage?
Yeah, so that's again like um, the quantity of content doesn't really matter. It's about the quality of content, the source of content, right? So you can have like multiple blog posts on your own website, but as I said again, the consistency. If LLM cannot verify from any other place other than your own website, unless like you're writing in a very niche topic and you are the only source of truth, in those cases, yes, your alone website is fine. You don't need to rely on the third party as well. But for places like Reddit or other public forum, it's a trust signal. LLM knows that people put genuine comments and feedbacks on those public forums. So uh, that's why like the source of truth is like much higher on those platforms, right? But on your own website, you don't really need to have like 2,000-word pages, right? It's actually counterproductive for the LLMs. As I said, like we need to make sure the content are optimized for LLMs. Long, very long texts are actually like a turn off for LLMs for the most part, unless you are doing something very research intensive. For a quick answer, always try to find like the shortest or quickest path to find the answer. So for that, one quick hack we do is put like a TLDR section on a blog post if you're covering a question or a topic, to give you like a quick snapshot to the LLMs, like what is it all about. So again, this is basically the quality of content outweighing the quantity of content, right? So yeah, and also let's say like you are a brand, like how do you get like a trustable brand in the eyes of LLMs? So what LLM does basically, if you, let's say you are a new brand today, right? And you're just putting out content and LLMs seeing your content and verifying with the third party places, and it knows that, okay, you are like a trustworthy website. Slowly over the period of time, these information gets fed in on the LLMs. So next time the cutoff training happens, LLM already knows that you are a credible website, right? So then over the period of time, it doesn't need to go to these third party websites. It will see your content. It knows that you are a trustworthy website, and it just stops there. It doesn't need to go further research. So that's also happens with a lot of our clients. Like they started with us very new brand, but then over the period of time, they trusted this credibility, and now they have to rely much less on third-party website, and rather than like they can rely mostly on their own content that you're producing because LLM trust that signals already.
Generative Engine Optimization didn't exist as a line item on corporate budgets 2 years ago. How do you convince a business owner to create a brand new budget category for AI search?
Yeah, I think um, we barely need to convince, like the least that we get, we barely need to convince them like the need for it, because it's very obvious, right? And also like why it's obvious, because everyone knows people are how the search behavior of the customer journey is changing, and they don't really need to allocate a new whole budget for this. This is the existing budget they had for like organic search market. So that's the geo budget is coming from there. If I think globally, the global spend of SEO every single year is $120 billion every single year. And out of that, 15% of that budget is already shifting to GEO. Like that already shifted. So those budgets are like, it's a complementary budget. It's not like you need to create a whole new budget for that. Yeah.
So when you were at the Founders Inc. event in SF and booked out 2 weeks of demos in one afternoon, what were the exact first 2 sentences out of your mouth?
In the event, like People knew, like, so most of the people, they already knew because we had our explainer, we had our product demo running, our banner. So people who came, the quality of people like who entered the event, they're already well aware of AI search and LLMs. So they just asked about, like, how can I learn about you more, right? What differentiates you uh, before comparing to other competitors. So it was more not like we're trying to pitch, we're trying to answer whatever the question came. So it was not like we had like pitch ready, we're just saying the same thing to everyone. It was not like that. It was more like people are curious if they had follow-on questions, and then we just answered, and they booked call to learn more. And yeah, that's how we went.
So you, Miriam, and Shenzilla build between Abu Dhabi and San Francisco. What's the secret to keeping your co-founders in complete like sync with one another across a 12-hour time zone difference, do you think?
Yeah. So that's something we're really proud of, that we're managed to pull this off. So we travel a lot. So when we started in Dubai and Abu Dhabi because we were based in here initially. And then earlier this year, we took a bet. All of us, three of us, went to San Francisco, and we were there for 4 months. And Mariam was traveling because she was also part of a Hub 71 program and plug and play program in Abu Dhabi. But like we stay in touch, like we talk every single day. We have like calls with all the time. We did a lot of hackathons in even between these things. Like Mariam was there like 4 a.m. at night, and we're there during the daytime. So it's, and we know each other for like 5 years now, so we have a very good work dynamics. So it's barely an issue like working together, and even with conflicting time zones. Yeah.
You won a YC hackathon by building a 24-hour voice agent that calls back abandoned checkouts. How did you come up with that idea on the spot? What was the atmosphere like during that build?
That was pretty intense hackathon. Like it was a 24-hour hackathon, no sleep, nothing. And so it was basically it came back to our problem that we face. So before ReachLLM and our other startups, like we were doing e-commerce drop shipping, right? And this was abandoning checkout was one of the biggest problem that we can think of. We want to basically build something for fun, not necessarily for like business perspective. And so it was a problem that we faced before, and still to this day, there's no solution exists like that. So we decided to build this, and it was quite fun. It was working, and we won the hackathon also. So that's a good validation that this is something people really want. Um, so yeah, it was a great experience.
So I just have a couple more questions. But if we fast forward 36 months, what percentage of consumer purchases do you think will start inside an AI chat window versus a search engine bar?
So I think in 36 months, it's a very long time, but I don't think there will be any search engine bar. Like the definition of search engine bar itself is gonna change, right?
Wow.
And if I have to predict, even the interface that we're talking about, it will change significantly as well. I don't think we will be using the same interfaces that we're using right now. It would not be simply just a chatbot that we're even used to right now, like talking to ChatGPT. It will change significantly. It could be the voice, it might be attached to your glasses, or maybe I cannot even think like what would be. But yeah, there would be optimizations, there would be LLMs who would be making a lot of decisions. So I think majority, I cannot say the exact numbers, but I think majority of the things that you buy or or subscribe for a service will be decided by LLMs, some sort of LLMs.
If you had to launch a brand new startup from scratch tomorrow and could only use three software or AI tools in your entire tech stack, what three tools are non-negotiable?
Um, that's an interesting, very interesting question. I mean, first would be like Claude Code Codex, like to build the things that you want to build. Um, Second would be distribution is the key. So you need to, like, it's hard to pick only one channel, right? You need to post across the board. It could be LinkedIn, Twitter. Like, I'm gonna choose. Okay. For building, you need to choose Claude Code and Codex. Uh, for distribution, you need to do social media and cold outreach. But do cold outreach, like, just you need to have your email only. Just do cold outreach with your personal connections and launch in different places where is like product hunt and other places, and just have calls with as many users as possible. So you don't even need like 3 tools. It's just building the product and distribution, right? All the rest is noise, to be honest.
So, what do you think that you understand about LLMs right now because you're at the forefront that no one else does, or that people might have misconceptions about, like people in the tech industry?
Like in a technical level, or what level exactly?
Or just like some insight you have that other people might not, like maybe how it's going to change advertising, or I don't know, just some insight that you have that maybe they don't.
I think the biggest insight that we have over others is like actually doing stuff that is getting cited by the LLMs. We have the data points. So it's very easy to give general advice, right? Okay, just create FAQ section, just create this and create that, and LLMs will pick it up. So this is very general feedback. Everyone knows about this. But what exactly works, the specifics, that's like the raw information, right? So that's the data advantage that we have right now.
And then, so if for the last question, for for VCs, potential investors, potential customers, what would you tell them about Reach LLM that they might not understand, that what would you say to them?
Yeah. So a lot of people think ReachLLM is just a visibility tracker, like AI visibility tracker. It's really not. It's much more beyond that. So we are an AI native agency. So when you onboard a customer, like, we take care of the whole entire stack of geo. And working with us, it's like it's an extension of your marketing team. And you basically onboard with us. We do some survey to make sure like all the informations we have are on check, and then it runs on autopilot. We have several agents that do the work for you, and of course, like, you have the chance to give the feedbacks and stuff. And the agents basically take care of creating the content, finding the gaps, doing the competitive analysis, posting this on behalf of you, learning from what is working and what is not working, and then recreating again. Everything happens the whole cycle by agents, right? So yeah, that's the key differentiations between ReachLLM and any other AI search visibility trackers out there in the market.